with his growth companies, and I suppose red ink as well.
Chris, thanks so much. We appreciate it. That's Chris Justum. And talking of Pinterest, we'll talk about policing the internet in just a moment. First, Robert, thanks for your patience. You've called in having read Peter Oborne's piece about his change of heart. What are your observations?
Hi, Eddie. Thanks for taking the call. Look, it is true. He is right in the sense that it is a good idea to always re-examine really important decisions that we take in life. But I disagree with what he's basically seems to be founding his argument on. And he's predicating it on the notion that the WTO isn't as effective as it has been in light of the rise of China and Trump. China and the United States were there when we took the vote. We know that those are growing economies, the US is the biggest economy in the world. But actually, under the WTO, just in the last 20 years, they've managed to reduce the average tariff across the globe by 15%. And we've seen trade, I think, quadruple or triple in 20 years.
But as you know, having read the article, he's talking about what has happened in recent years, and he says that in the Trump and Xi world, relying on the WTO to ensure free trade is like relying on the United Nations to protect human rights. All they can offer are well-meaning but impotent resolutions. Well,
the facts speak for themselves. We've, as I say, WTO tariffs have reduced in the last 20 years. It is true that Trump is having this trade war with the Chinese, but it looks like that's going to be settled. And actually what Trump is doing is rebalancing more in favour of the US. He's not saying he doesn't want to trade. And in fact, the Chinese the other day committed to spending an extra $1 trillion, I think, with the US economy. So, I mean, Trump isn't against trade. I think one of the biggest misconceptions today is that people see Trump as an isolationist. If you look at the people he's appointed, he's not. He just wants the trade to be a bit more in favour of his country. And I think that's why some people voted leave, because they believe that the UK should be in charge of its trade policy. If you look at Europe, Europe as a trading bloc, it has grown less than America in the last 20 years, and it's grown far less than the Asian economies.
All right,
but growth in Europe
was there anything else, Robert? Was there anything else in Peter's piece that you might have agreed with?
Well, I agree it's important when you're making a big decision. Yes, it is good sometimes to check yourself and say, have I got my thinking right here? And I do that. I have done that, but I'm more convinced. In fact, the last 2 years have convinced me even more that it's best to get away from that, from the EU, because it's just not growing.
All right, Robert, thank you for that. There's someone disagreeing.